What kind of car is that? Oh. But yeah, we pay taxes for public schools, and guess what? I honestly don't know why we pay for public schools, as shitty as they are. I'd rather pay for vouchers to give parents vouchers to private schools. Yep, they got. Yeah, you can win you can be one of the top students in school, and you can get screwed.
You can't complain now.
Why?
Well, you shouldn't complain, but of course you can't complain. You want to.
About what?
Anything,
What? We didn't get enough gas or something?
Look at this stupid son of a bitch. No, it's a stupid bitch.
What are you doing?
Block the past. Why? Nobody knows.
Because they're...
You consider it, whatever.
We're not thinking.
has cut the proportion of women who bleed to death by about 70% in less than 2 years at a cost of about 4 cents per person.
As Germany resists pressure to send tanks to Ukraine, we ask about the role of history in shaping German public opinion, and Yiddish songs lost and found after more than 80 years. That's after the news.
I'm Stuart McIntosh with the BBC News. Hello. Tens of thousands of people have joined a protest in Tel Aviv against Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's one of the country's biggest demonstrations in years. Mike Thompson reports.
A sea of flag and banner-waving protesters, including families with young children, have converged on the centre of Tel Aviv, with smaller demonstrations in other cities. They're angry over the new right-wing government's plans to limit the powers of the judiciary and take over the appointment of judges. Critics claim this amounts to a coup and could destroy democracy in Israel. Speaking at the event, former Prime Minister Yair Lapid said the demonstration is all about defending democracy, adding, "We will not give up until we win."
The commander of the Brazilian army, General Julio Cesar de Arruda, has been fired 2 weeks after the invasion of government buildings by supporters of the former president, Jair Bolsonaro. Members of the armed forces and the police have been accused of colluding with the rioters. Our America's editor, Leonardo Rocha, reports.
General Arruda is being replaced by a military commander close to President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, General Tomás Ribeiro Paiva. Earlier this week, he made a speech urging soldiers to accept the result of the presidential elections, which has been contested by Bolsonaro supporters. Unsubstantiated allegations of fraud were one of the main reasons quoted by Bolsonaro supporters who stormed the presidential palace, Congress and the Supreme Court on January the 8th, calling for a military coup.
The Canadian government says it'll help facilitate talks aimed at ending years of separatist conflict in Cameroon. More than 1 million people have been forced to flee their homes in the country's English-speaking regions. Will Ross reports.
Finally, after more than 5 years of fighting in Cameroon, it's possible that all sides are in agreement that this war can't be won through the guns. Switzerland tried to mediate, but the talks broke down and President Paul Biya's government appeared to be in favour of the military option. Now Canada is going to try. Its Foreign Minister, Mélanie Joly, said the government in Yaoundé and 6 different groups representing the separatists had agreed to start a peace process. With so many different forces to please and 2 splinter groups not yet on board, it won't be easy. But news of this peace effort has been broadly welcomed in the devastated Anglophone regions of Cameroon.
The United States military says it's killed about 30 Islamist militants with an airstrike in Somalia. Over the past few days, the Somali army and Al-Shabaab militants have fought for control of the town of Galad. On Friday, the Islamists killed 7 soldiers after storming a military base in Galad. Somalia's information ministry said dozens of jihadist fighters were killed. You're listening to the latest world news, coming to you from the BBC. A memorial service has been held in Ukraine for the former Interior Minister Denis Monastyrski and 6 other senior officials who were killed in a helicopter crash earlier this week. A tearful President Zelensky and his wife, Olena Zelensky, were among those paying their respects at a cultural centre in Kiev. Speaking to reporters there, the Secretary of the National Security and Defence Council, Alexei Danilov, paid tribute to Mr. Monastyrski.
Special.
Right from the start of the war, he was at work. He was the first to visit the office of the President of Ukraine on February 24, before the Security and Defense Council convened. He has contributed a great deal to the defense of Kyiv and the defense of our country.
Officials are still investigating the cause for the crash. Sweden has insisted it values its ties with Turkey after Ankara cancelled the visit by the Swedish Defence Minister. It was called off in anticipation of an anti-Muslim demonstration in Stockholm by a far-right politician, which duly went ahead outside the Turkish embassy. The Turkish and Swedish governments both strongly criticised the incident, which saw a copy of the Quran burned. A senior advisor to India's Information Ministry says it's ordered YouTube and Twitter to block links to a BBC documentary about the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Kanchan Gupta described the film as a hateful propaganda. The documentary examines Mr. Modi's failure to prevent deadly religious riots in Gujarat when he was chief minister of the state in 2002. Iran's currency, the rial, has plunged to a new low against the US dollar. It's now lost nearly a third of its value since protests sparked by the death in custody of Masha Amini in September last year. The Iranian government's violent suppression of the unrest led to more crippling sanctions against Tehran. BBC News.
Hello and welcome to News Hour from the BBC World Service, coming to you live from our studios in central London. I'm Julian Marshall. And we begin in Israel, where resistance is growing to plans by the coalition government to limit the powers of the judiciary. The biggest protest yet is taking place in Tel Aviv, with smaller demonstrations elsewhere in Jerusalem.
Hasn't that guy been in power forever, though? Netanyahu?
No. He was out of power for a while, but then he went back in. It's a parliamentary type of government, not. If you're the head of the party and your party wins, then you're the prime minister.
Oh.
The president, there is a president, but it's more of a ceremonial type of shit. I like Bibi Netanyahu, but that doesn't mean anything. He could be, off his rocker now. You're going to relinquish that debt now? If it hurts, I'll stop.